This is HB Vibes, your home for shocking and emotional war stories. Hit like, smash that subscribe, and let's dive into the drama. On a cold rainy night, crowds of people rushed past an old woman sitting helplessly on the sidewalk. Everyone ignored her, until one teenage boy stopped. He held out his umbrella, spoke just 4 words, and that single act of kindness ended up changing his entire future. The city glistened under a relentless downpour, neon signs flickering through the misty rain. Cars hissed past, their headlights cutting streaks of gold and white across the wet pavement. It was the kind of evening when people buried their faces in coats and hurried home, unwilling to spend even a second longer than necessary outside. On the corner of Main Street, however, sat a figure who didn't move with the rushing tide of the world. An old woman, her silver hair plastered against her face, huddled on the edge of the sidewalk. She clutched a navy blue handbag close to her chest, her beige coat soaked through. Raindrops rolled off her cheeks like tears, though her eyes were already wet with something deeper, fear and confusion. Dozens of people walked past her, semblanced briefly, their eyes flicking toward her with mild curiosity, then away again. Most didn't even notice her at all. She was just another figure on the rain-soaked streets, too ordinary, too unimportant, too easy to ignore. But not everyone ignored her. Marcus Johnson, a 16-year-old boy with short curls and an old pair of sneakers, slowed as he walked. His backpack weighed heavy with textbooks, and his clothes were damp from the rain that his cheap umbrella only half covered. He had been on his way home after a long shift at the grocery store, but something about the old woman stopped him in his tracks. She wasn't just sitting there, she was lost. Her wide, darting eyes looked like those of someone searching desperately for an anchor in a sea that threatened to swallow her whole. Marcus hesitated only for a moment, then stepped forward. Marcus knelt down beside the woman, tilting his umbrella so it covered her more than him. The cold rain quickly began soaking through his jeans, but he didn't care. "Ma'am," he said softly, careful not to startle her. "Are you okay? Do you need some help?" The woman lifted her head slowly, her lips trembling. For a moment, her eyes seemed to struggle to focus, as if she were piecing together where she was and who stood before her. I can't," she stammered. "I don't know where I am. I can't find my way home." Her voice cracked with a mixture of shame and helplessness, and Marcus felt a pang deep in his chest. His grandmother had looked like that, once, confused, fragile, slipping away into a haze of forgotten memories before she passed. The sight stirred something protective inside him. "It's all right," Marcus said gently. "Don't worry, I'll help you get home. You don't have to be out here alone." Her watery eyes searched his face, as though testing whether she could believe his promise. Finally, she nodded, clutching her handbag tighter. Marcus smiled reassuringly. "I'll get you home soon." And unlike the dozens of people who had passed her by, Marcus meant it. They began walking slowly down the slick sidewalk, Marcus holding the umbrella steady above her. The woman's steps were small and unsteady, and Marcus adjusted his pace to match hers. "Do you know your street?" Marcus asked kindly, "or maybe something nearby, like a landmark?" The woman frowned, her brows furrowing as she tried to remember. "There's a gate," she whispered after a pause. "Tall iron gates, with roses. My husband planted them, years ago." Marcus nodded, seizing onto the clue. "Okay, that's something. We'll look for it." As they walked, she seemed to relax slightly under his care. She told him her name was Eleanor. Her voice drifted in and out, sometimes sharp with clarity, sometimes wavering with confusion. But Marcus listened closely, asking gentle questions, guiding her steps through the rain. The world rushed past them, strangers with umbrellas, cars spraying water as they sped through puddles, shop lights flickering as owners closed up for the night. But within the umbrella's small circle, it was just the two of them. Two strangers, two souls who, for reasons neither yet understood, had been placed in each other's path that night. As the rain eased into a mist, Eleanor's voice grew steadier. She began sharing fragments of her past as though they had been loosened by Marcus's patience. "My husband," she murmured, smiling faintly. "He used to take me on walks after dinner. We'd go through the garden. He'd pick a rose and tuck it behind my ear, even though I told him I was too old for such things." Marcus chuckled softly. Doesn't sound like he agreed. Her smile grew a little, though tears shimmered in her eyes. "He said roses never look too old to be beautiful." Marcus's heart ached for her. He wanted to keep her talking, to hold on to the glimmers of clarity that broke through her confusion. "You remind me of my son," Eleanor said suddenly, her gaze turning to him. "He always stopped to help people. always said kindness was free. Marcus swallowed, caught off guard by the weight of her words. My mom says the same thing, he replied softly. They walked on, the streets blurred together, but Marcus kept an eye out for iron gates and roses, refusing to give up. He wasn't just helping her find her way home, he was helping her hold on to pieces of herself. Finally, after what felt like an endless search, they turned down a quiet street lined with tall trees. At the far end, through the mist and drizzle, Marcus spotted them, black iron gates covered in climbing roses, their petals heavy with rain. Look, Marcus said gently, pointing ahead. Eleanor gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears spilled freely down her cheeks. My home, she whispered, her voice breaking with relief. Marcus guided her carefully to the gate, where a stately house stood beyond, a grand mansion with glowing windows that seemed to radiate warmth against the storm. As they approached, the front door flew open. A woman in a housekeeper's uniform rushed out, her face pale with shock. Mrs. Whitmore, oh, thank heavens, she cried, hurrying to Eleanor's side. We've been looking everywhere for you. Marcus blinked. Whitmore, the name struck him. He had heard it before. The Whitmore family was one of the wealthiest and most influential in the city. The house buzzed with commotion within minutes. Staff appeared, offering Eleanor blankets and hot tea, thanking Marcus profusely for bringing her back. Marcus stood awkwardly in the grand foyer, dripping rainwater onto the marble floor, his old sneakers leaving marks on the polished surface. He felt out of place among the chandeliers and oil paintings, but Eleanor clung to his hand, refusing to let go. You've done more than you know, the housekeeper told him, her eyes glistening with gratitude. Mrs. Whitmore is very important, Marcus only shrugged, embarrassed. I just couldn't leave her there. Anyone would have helped, but Eleanor shook her head firmly, her voice stronger now. Not anyone, she said. Everyone walked past me, only you stopped. You saw me when no one else did. Her words cut through the air like truth that could not be denied. Days later, Marcus returned home from school to find a sleek black car parked outside his apartment building. A man in a suit stepped out and handed him an envelope sealed with gold-embossed paper. Inside was a handwritten letter from Eleanor Whitmore herself. It read, Marcus, you reminded me of what humanity should be: kind, selfless, and brave. You gave me dignity when I felt invisible. For that, I am forever grateful. I want to help you the way you helped me. Your education, your dreams, whatever path you choose, you will not walk it alone anymore. You gave me a hand when I had none. Now let me give you wings. With love, Eleanor Whitmore. Along with the letter was a scholarship offer, enough to cover any school Marcus dreamed of attending, and a promise of mentorship and opportunity. Marcus's hands shook as he read the letter again and again. His mother wept when he showed her, pulling him into a tight embrace. That night, Marcus lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how quickly life could change. He had stopped because it was the right thing to do, because kindness was free, just like his mother always said. But in stopping, he had not only changed Eleanor's night, he had changed his own future. And as he drifted into sleep, he realized something he would never forget. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion creates ripples that reach farther than we ever imagine. If you felt the heartbeat of this story, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to HB Vibes, where every story carries a lesson for the soul.